This week, In Defense of Ska would like to give a special shout out to Patreon subscriber Kevin WK. Kevin was our 69th subscriber, bringing our total to $311. Patreon is instrumental in helping us keep our podcast sustainable. We can't thank you enough if you already subscribe. And if you've been on the fence for a while, please join. It's only a few bucks. We have so many ideas we'd like to push forward with In Defense of Ska, and your subscription helps us move towards that goal. You can be like Kevin WK. Think about it. Patron 420, pushing our monthly goal towards $1,312. So think it over. And for now, on with the show.
Josh Jurk is most known as the long-haired, screaming frontman of hardcore band School Drugs, but he's got a lot of connections to ska. He played bass for Best of the Worst on one tour, played drums for the recent Awful Waffle reunion set at the Ska Mom Memorial show, and he even booked that show. Hell, he played one of the metalheads in a parking lot characters in the horror film Uncle Peckerhead. I think at this point we can all agree that Josh is the most ska person on the planet.
Aaron, you don't really like hardcore that much, right?
I wouldn't say I don't like hardcore. I would just say that I don't.
You don't gravitate towards it.
I don't gravitate towards it, but sometimes there are bands that I like.
Yeah, I really like hardcore. I really like School Drugs. I randomly just became friends with Josh through Instagram.
Oh, yeah?
We just started like chatting on there. And then when the Awful Waffle reunion happened, I saw somebody that looked like Josh playing drums. And it turned out it was Josh.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, that looks like the guy from School Drugs. It was, in fact, the guy from School Drugs.
Yes. So because he played drums in Awful Waffle, he is now part of the ska canon.
Yep. So now, forever, you will have to be dodging those questions of, is School Drugs a ska band?
Yes. And the answer, you'll find out. All right. Josh, I hear that you're a professional actor.
Professional usually means that you got you've worked for money.
Okay,
that's not fair. They did pay me money. I was paid money. So what I'm getting at is yes.
Yeah,
professional actor.
So why don't you tell people the movie you were in and the role you played?
The movie that I was in was called Uncle Peckerhead.
Yes.
And
classic.
I had the prestigious title of Metalhead number 2.
Yes.
I was not good enough to be Metalhead number 1, apparently.
Who was Metalhead number 1?
I wish I could tell you that I remember that kid's name, but I met that kid that day, and he was very nice. He was very cool and was friends with Matt, my friend who directed the movie. Who I realized after we had a little exchange on Twitter, like, oh, duh, I listened to Matt talk about the fucking movie on your thing.
Yeah, we were talking about you.
Yes, that is true.
So for anyone who has not listened to our Uncle Peckerhead interview or have seen the movie, there is a scene called Metalhead. Metalhead's in the parking lot. A nice title borrowed from a slapstick song. And Josh, you were one of the two metalheads who drove into a parking lot and just started moshing, right?
Yeah,
that was your directions: drive in and start moshing.
Yeah, I think Matt basically told us like just be complete assholes, like the biggest fucking assholes that you could possibly be. Just do that. I was like, oh yeah, oh okay, that requires very little direction, director. Thank you. Like, talk about a fucking typecast, bud.
So the Metalhead number 1 is Alex McKelvey.
Yeah, that guy.
Mick Kelvey. Yeah.
Well, is he in a band? I feel like I remember Matt saying that you guys were both in bands.
I don't remember.
Maybe not.
I just remember him saying that Josh from School Drugs was in it.
Okay.
He didn't say who the other guy was.
Like I said, he was very nice, and the scene was good.
Yeah.
Fun fact about that parking lot too is that is actually a parking lot of a I think it's a VFW, but maybe it's a Old Guard or Moose Lodge or something. I think it's the Brick VFW. But that is a place that used to have shows.
It still has shows? Okay.
Well,
Nice.
they used to have shows. I don't think
Used to have shows.
Did you play shows at that VFW?
I never played shows there, but I went to a good number of shows there.
Any shows that you remember that stick out in your mind?
Yeah, I left before a Righteous Jams show in like 2007. All hardcore shows. I left before Righteous Jams got there because I was worried that it was going to get too rough for little Josh, and I was kind of scared of possible activity of the gang variety.
Okay.
So you already kind of said this, but I remember the thing that Matt talked about in that scene that stuck out to me is that he goes, like you and the other guy, just met right before the scene itself.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, because I remember watching it going like, oh, these guys are friends. Like, you just seem like friends, you know? And it's like kind of intimate, I guess, in a weird way, to be like moshing with somebody, just one person in a parking lot.
I mean, moshing is a very, very intimate activity. It's
yeah.
Like, name another time other than playing sports that you're that close to like other sweaty, possibly shirtless people. It's very, very intimate.
So as a person who doesn't actually, spend their time acting and doing this, what was that experience like to be like, hi, how you doing? My name's Josh. And then just to go through this act of like moshing with them, like with all these cameras on you and stuff.
I mean, it's not that different than, doing anything else that's slightly performative, from playing in a band to telling a group of people a joke at work or something. If it's not a thing that you're embarrassed by or get, stage fright or anything like that. Like I was more worried that he was going to tell me to like dial it back. Like he didn't tell me to like flip the fucking beer cans and like hold it above my head and like do the stupid tongue thing that I was doing and like I smoked like 400 cigarettes because I'd like like every time we would like cut a take, it would be like, I'd like have the cigarette, they'd be like cut, and they'd be like, oh Jesus Christ, like too many, say like put the thing out and be like, all right, oh Josh, continue, you got to get the. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, okay. And like I gotta fucking get like another cigarette out of the thing, and like it's like, oh thank God, like I'm almost out. They're like, almost gotcha, got another pack right here for you, bud. It's over at Craft Services. There's just a bowl of American spirits there.
That reminds me of like when your parents catch you with cigarettes and then make you smoke the whole thing.
Oh yeah, exactly. The other thing about that scene too that's fun is afterwards. So like they gave me those clothes to wear. I showed up in, my normal clothes. Not that it was very different from what they gave me, but I don't wear a battle vest generally.
No, you don't.
I don't. I'm not. I had that phase for a little while. I'm not against it. I'm against the messy battle vest.
Yeah.
Like when you got like a no center back patch and like 400 like little patches, all like you just got to clean that shit up and get it looking right. But they give me those clothes and like everything got covered in blood.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like so, like you can see in the scene that like the blood squirts out in my hand. Like I'm holding my hand over the spurting blood, and my finger kind of moves out of the way. It's like. No, it like actually was like pushing my hand. They didn't, because there was no like test. They tested it, way away from me, and I didn't see it. So I didn't see how much this thing was going to shoot. And I thought it was going to kind of like dribble out a little bit and like maybe like, but it like, it was like when you put your finger over a garden hose. It was way more like that. And it's like shooting fucking everywhere. Matt calls cut. Oh, that was great. Awesome. Like, I think we totally got it. And the guy behind the camera moved the camera lens, and it was like in cartoons when a bomb explodes, and it's like the character's covered in soot except for where their sunglasses were. It was like that blood, and I'm covered in blood. And then I had to drive home from Bricktown to Bradley Beach, where I live, and it's like a 30-minute drive. And I had borrowed my mom's van that weekend because mine was getting fixed or something. And I was like, shit, I'm going to get blood like all over my mom's van. Like, she's not going to be stoked about that. So I had to get 2 trash bags and make pants and a shirt out of trash bags, and then threw all the other clothes in the dumpster, and then drove home. I live 5 blocks from the beach, drove straight to the ocean. I didn't drive into the ocean because that would have negated the whole like not wanting to screw up my mom's hand. It would have been worse than getting a little bit of blood on the interior of her car to submerge it in the Atlantic Ocean. Parked my car, got out of the car, went to the beach, and just jumped immediately into the ocean to like wash all of this fake blood and, you know, corn syrup stuff off of me.
And so then the people watching were like, "Oh, that guy just killed somebody, and he's trying to cover it up."
I mean, I probably did it right around the same time that you would throw a body into the ocean, which is like like just before dawn, like right before the whole darkest before the dawn thing, like right around there. So there wasn't really anybody around, but I was thinking like, shit, if I get pulled over, I look crazy, dude.
So you get killed in that scene, right?
I mean, I'm not going to give away Uncle Peckerhead 2 on your show.
Oh, okay. My bad.
You never know. No. I'm leaving the window open.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty fucking dead.
and I'm taking it you were a slapstick fan at some point in your life, right?
I didn't get the reference.
You didn't.
It was lost on me.
Okay.
I didn't know it. Ashamedly, I will admit that.
Nice.
Wow.
All right. Well, I guess that's the end of the interview then. No.
Yeah. Get off first.
Fake Ska.
So there was like cast and crew like showing of the film sort of thing?
Yeah, I think we did like. I think I didn't go because I think I might have been playing a show or something the day that they actually did it. But I think they had it. There's a scene in there where they like, where they're playing like the big gig or they're trying to get on the big gig. And it's, I don't know if they call it House of Independence in the movie, but that's the name of the actual venue that they filmed it at. I believe they showed it at that venue, which Matt Lawrence's brother, Mike, worked at the venue at the time. And I also worked at the venue at the time. So I also helped out with those scenes that were shot in that movie, just setting up some lighting stuff, make it look like a big rock show thing, and helping out with like some of that stuff.
In Defense of Ska, we'll be right back.
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Yeah, because I was wondering, I mean, obviously you weren't there, but I was wondering how the cast and crew responded to that scene. Because, I mean, there's a few memorable scenes, but that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I think that I wasn't there because when they had the Brown scene, I'll call it for anybody that hasn't seen. Like, I didn't know that scene was in there. I didn't know that was coming, and that totally got me. I was on the floor about that. My girlfriend and I watched it both like. She looked at me. I was like, "Dude, I had no idea they were going to do that."
Have you ever played any shows with bands that are similar to the crummy band from the movie? What are they called? Something Rising.
Yeah.
The singer, I think Matt probably mentioned it 1,000 times. Was his, I guess his like PA on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what you would call him. And he was great in that. He wasn't like, and it's funny because he's not like that at all. And he was funny in, a completely different way. So to like hang out with that dude like for a few days and then see him in that role was fun. And he was phenomenal. Oh, and then also that scene where they're like pulling up to one of the shows. It's like a log cabin.
Mm-hmm.
That is a venue in Manchester, New Jersey that my mom. Well, it's not a venue. It's a venue in the sense that it's like a VFW or something like that.
Right.
Venue for, say, weddings or parties or things, and then every once in a while you do shows. That my mom actually booked out.
What did your mom book it out for? Or is she just the booking person for it?
And that segues perfectly into all kinds of different shows.
Yeah.
Namely, hardcore, punk, and ska shows.
What was the earliest ska show you remember having there?
I'm sure there was at least one or two before this, but I believe one of the very first, like, earliest BTMI Jeff Pod shows. Like, I think that first tour that he did with Rick Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
where he just did like the Jeff Pod thing. One of those shows was at the PLP Log Cabin.
Were you at that show?
I was. I think that was the Ska Barbecue, and my non-ska band, The Jerks, played.
What do the Jerks sound like?
Bad punk band. Very bad punk band. Like it's appropriate for being 14 or 15 punk.
Right.
Totally acceptable for being that age.
What was Jeff iPod bomb the music industry like for anyone listening? I mean, he's kind of come a long way since that.
It was literally just him with an iPod, and he would plug his iPod into the PA and play guitar and, scream into the microphone and run around. That was the first time that I ever saw BTMI. So I just thought that that's what it was. I didn't know that there was a band. I don't think I've ever seen him with a band with BTMI before.
Right. Well, I think it started that way, and then eventually it became a band.
Yeah, he did like the one kind of acoustic song, on his computer or whatever, and then put the thing together. But yeah, those shows would be like Awful Waffle would play there all the time. Hub City Stompers played there a bunch of times. I don't think that Bombtown ever actually played there.
So what year does Awful Waffle begin? And are you in the band when the band begins?
Very much no. They're all probably like 4 or 5 years older than me, which, when you're like maybe like 3 or 4 years older than me, but even still, when you're like 14 and then, the members of the band that you like are like 17 or 18, that might as well be, 15 and 73. It's like it's you can't conceive of somebody almost being legally aged.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like they could drive. Oh my God.
So were you a fan? Were you a fan of the band then before you joined?
Oh, very much. Yeah.
Okay, so the band starts in like the mid 2000s, as I understand it.
Yeah, 2004, 2005, I believe.
From what I can tell, kind of a big deal in that scene in the mid to late 2000s. True or not?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say so. They were one of those bands that you would see, the big, bigger like ska shows come through, like your Mustard Plugs and the Real Big Fishes and what have you, and it would be like, and there's Awful Waffle.
I see. And Cheech and Stiffy from Best of the Worst.
Yes.
Were they original from the beginning members as well, or no?
Yeah, there might have been like a small period of time where it was not really the same band, kind of, but for all intents and purposes, I believe so, yes.
Can you remember the first time you saw Awful Waffle as a non-member? Like what you thought of them and that experience?
Yeah, I just, the songs were like really, really catchy and really good and fun, and I was ripe to be into it. I was wearing a tie-dye shirt that said Jamaica.
Wait, it said Jamaica what on it?
It says Jamaica, then underneath it said like Yamon.
Oh wow.
M-O-N apostrophe. And some blue Dickies shorts that like light blue. I'm not talking like navy. I'm like light blue.
Like powder blue.
Yeah, powder blue
Oof.
Dickies shorts that I had Jeff spray paint Bomb the Music Industry on.
Yeah.
if people don't know, the thing used to be that like Bond music industry didn't make shirts, but Jeff would bring a stencil. He would bring multiple stencils and spray paint, and then you would either bring a blank shirt or turn your shirt inside out, and then you'd go outside and he would just be out there like spray painting T-shirts. And I guess I couldn't possibly give up my Jamaica Yaman T-shirt to be a Bond music industry shirt. So instead, I took off my shorts and I didn't spray paint my shorts. Which, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that was fucking weird, and that was probably that was probably really weird for him.
Yeah.
I'm almost 14 years old. Like, hold on, let me take my shorts off. Like, that's really weird. I'm sorry.
Was the stencil down like one leg of the shorts?
No, it was straight across the crotch. Just like if you were standing up and you took it and then put it at like a jaunty angle and then just went, that's what it looked like.
Wow. Were you doing your own laundry at this point, or was your mom doing your laundry and then like holds up these shorts? Like, what the? I don't
think she really cared. And it was also like, it was in like glittery blue paint, so it didn't even look good. It was really stupid of me to ask for him to do that. But like, he was like, yeah, I guess. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Did you wear those shorts more than just that one show, or did they go in the trash? Oh my God.
I think eventually I gave them to my girlfriend who, oh man, I wonder if she still has those somewhere. She still has a Ball in the music industry spray painted stenciled shirt that I gave her from a different time. That was a tie-dye blue shirt. I'm realizing now that I wore a lot of tie-dye. That's the most embarrassing part about all this. Not taking my pants off in front of Jeff Rosenstock.
That you were a tie-dye guy.
Yeah, ugh.
So who else were the ska bands in this scene? This is New Jersey. We have Hub City Stompers. You already mentioned them.
Yeah. And they were like they were even older than the members of Awful Waffle at the time. They still are too. That's the crazy thing, is they're still older than the members of Awful Waffle. To this day.
How does that work?
It's the consistency that I love, guys. It's the consistency. But like, they were like adults, like Awful Waffle, like they're still kids. They're like, oh yeah, they're like cool, like older teenagers, but like Awful or Hub City, it's like, yo, they're like adults. And then they would bring like older people to the show, and they were like skinheads, and they were like kind of scary, and like they would mostly stand in the back, but then they would play like, you know, New Jersey, New York posse, and then you'd want to get the hell out of the way and wait for like, you know, the fucking dork song so you could dance in the circle and not get like clobbered.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get clobbered by skinheads?
I don't think I did, actually.
Good.
I don't believe that I ever did. Some skinheads busted up Cheech's car at one of those shows.
Wow. Why? Why'd they do that?
I don't know. I don't know. But he was so fucking calm. Like he was so calm and nice that he was borderline being like, you know, like, oh man, like I hope they didn't, you know, scuff up their shoes when they did it. Like it was like borderline that nice. He was so calm and collected and cool the entire time. And I remember my mom was there like freaking out for him, like, I can't believe this, what the fuck? And like he's just like, yeah, you know, shit happens.
Cheech, if you're listening, let us know. I post something about what happened and why it happened. We'd love to hear.
We'd love to hear that story. So it sounds like your mom was always pretty supportive of you playing in punk bands.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And she definitely liked the ska shows specifically because she could tolerate them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was not a bunch of just screaming and noise.
Right.
Yeah. Or was it also more tolerable in terms of like the way the kids behaved compared to the punk or hardcore shows? From a mom perspective?
The hardcore shows, it was more like the biggest thing that I remember is that there was a they'd get like a hardcore show in there, and it would be, you know, like nuts to butts, and there was a shuffleboard table, on the one like whole side of the building was just a big long shuffleboard table, and it had like a wooden cover on top of it, and kids would stand on it to like watch the show or stage dive or whatever, and she would come out in like the middle of fucking bands and be like, "Get off the shuffleboard table!" Fuck, dude, it was totally that thing. Like, yo, isn't that your mom? Like, yeah.
That's tight.
She'd like be flipping out. And now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, get off the goddamn shuffleboard table. You think you fucking live here? What are you doing? Either that or like yelling at people like, keep the door closed. Air conditioning's on.
It's at the back of the room too, right?
The shuffleboard table or the door?
The shuffleboard table.
I mean, both. So she's well versed in the language of screaming, of shouting. So, she'd just shout from across the room, like, over the bands, and, Killy Riddles are playing, and she's like, shut the fucking door! Everybody's like, guys, can you shut the door, please?
Well, I was just thinking, you were saying people are stage diving off the shuffleboard table.
Oh, that was a regular occurrence.
But like shuffleboard, like if it's at the back of the room, like always just like diving from the back of the room is always.
Yeah, that definitely happened, but it was like if the band is playing in a corner, it was on one side of that corner.
Okay, so it's not as gnarly as it could be.
No, but then like pylons at that place would get so high that it would reach the wooden rafters, and then kids would either jump get on the bar or the pool or the shuffleboard table, and then get onto the rafters, and then jump off of the rafters onto their friends
onto the pylon.
Or the pylon would get so high that kids would be like holding themselves away from 150 years of antique dust, like dust that saw the Hindenburg. And I say that because it was located in Manchester, and Lakehurst is the next town over, and it was built in 1927.
Wow! So when did you join Awful Waffle?
What month is it? A month and a half ago.
Oh, you just joined for the show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in the original version. Okay, my mistake.
Oh no,
so just
I was not then, and am still not now talented enough to be in that band. I had no chance of being in that band back in the day, and I barely have a chance of being in that band now.
So, the recent show, was this the one and only reunion, or did they do reunion shows? Like, I know they were talking about doing them in 2020.
Yeah. So they had started talking about doing some reunion shows in 2020, and that started to get off the ground, and then Corona happened and kind of threw those plans to the wayside. And then, unfortunately, Ska Mom passed away, and I wasn't part of the original trying to do the reunion either. That was all Awful Waffle and Jeroni, aka Grabmaster Hash, on if you're on TikTok.
Yeah.
And so I heard about that, and I was like, well, we need to do something. Like we need to do something. Like we have to, just that, like when something like that happens, and like you feel the need to just do something because you don't know what to do, because nobody knows how to deal with losing someone. And so we were like, I'm sure we can throw a memorial show or a benefit or something like that. And first I called Jeroni up, and I was like, yo, I know you were trying to do the Awful Waffle reunion like a little while ago. I think this is the only reason to do it. This is like the only reason for them to get together again.
Yeah.
We can do it in the, I guess, most genuine, best way possible. We're going to do it at the log cabin with bands that Ska Mom's daughter picks, and really just have a full-on celebration. And he was like, yeah, 100%. And was like, yo, let me get on the phone with everybody and like, get this thing together. So he goes around and he calls people, and I think I talked to Cheech that night too, and he talked to everybody else, and like, we put it together, and it was like awesome. Like, everybody's like into it. This is a good idea. We'll raise some money, give it to Shannon, Ska Mom's daughter, and we'll get some other bands and it'll be good. So then I asked Shannon, like, who else do you want to, like, who do you want to play this thing? And she was like, oh, I'd, love to get Hub City Stompers involved. So like, sick. Hit up Hub City Stompers. They're like 100%. Like, we were on the same page, like already about to do something. So kind of combined forces here and like, yeah, let's do it. And like I said, we were going to do it at the log cabin, which is just a, floor space. So like, I called my boss, Jason, who knew Ska Mom from like back in City Gardens days, and he runs Asbury Audio, which is like a audio company in Asbury, which is pretty fucking obvious because they're called Asbury Audio. But I called him and I'm like, yo, like, I need a PA for this thing, and he's like 100% free, donated, all good. Called to my other boss that runs a lighting and staging company. They are not called Asbury Lighting and Staging, coincidentally, because that would be too easy. Then you would know exactly what they do. They're called Legacy Lighting, so at least they do lighting. Called them up, and my boss Damien didn't know Ska Mom, but was like, "Hey, this is like a friend of yours, totally free, like on me, whatever kind of stage and lighting you want, all good." And my boss Jason comes from more like the hardcore world, but that same sense of community is there, whether it's, ska, punk, hardcore, whatever. It's sort of like we've lost one of our own, no matter from what sect they may be. And we all help each other out in this instance.
So Ska Mom, Leslie Brown, can you tell people a little bit about her and why she was so important to that scene?
Ska Mom was just always there. She was a clearly ska, especially staple. I mean, I saw her at plenty of other types of shows. Like, Ska Mom had love for ska and punk, and I don't know that I ever saw her in any like hardcore shows, but I wouldn't be surprised if I did. And she was just always there with a hug and a smile and genuine interest in how you're doing and how you're feeling and making sure that you're okay. And I came probably much later to knowing Ska Mom than like, say, the members of Awful Waffle or any of those people. Probably closer to like when I started working at Asbury Lanes, which was in like 2011. And then and I'd be working, a ton of shows, and she would be there every time. And I worked the snack bar, and like she would come into the snack bar, and like we would talk, and she would always tip me really well. And I knew Shannon. But she was always supportive. And from what I've heard from like Cheech and Jeroni and everybody else, like, she was always there to like offer a ride home or bring, Leslie and like all the kids to whatever show they wanted to go to and hang out and make sure everybody got food afterwards and was like taken care of and everybody was safe and got home all right.
Mm. So was she known as Ska Mom when you were made aware of her? Was she already known as Ska Mom?
Oh yeah, because like I knew who she was when I like first started going to shows in like 2004, 2005. I just didn't really hang out with like people outside of like ska shows because they lived 2 towns over. Which, if you don't have a car, might as well be the other side of the country
Mm-hmm.
at 14 or 15 years old. Or you don't have friends that drive, which I did not. But yeah, so like she'd been Ska Mom for forever, for as long as I had been aware of her, which was 2004, 2005, and I'm sure it was even before that.
So you weren't part of the talks of doing an Awful Waffle reunion in 2020. Was there a reason why you were part of the reunion in the band this time? Was their drummer unable to make it, or?
So they had some issues with their old drummer. He was persona non grata for undisclosed reasons.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, I set up the group chat with everybody and told them when we're doing the show, who's playing. Forgot to mention that, like, I hit up Catbite and was like, hey, I'm doing this thing for them. Catbite was extremely generous in donating their time as well to the function. And told everybody, blah, 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 we're in the group chat, everybody's good. And they're like, oh, like, we don't really have a drummer right now. Like, we're going to get Joe Scala, who plays drums in Best of the Worst, to do it, but like, he's going to be on tour during that show. And I was like, shit. Okay. Like, so, like, so get a drummer. Okay. Like, get a fucking drummer. And I believe it had to be Cheech, because no one else would have probably asked me. And so Cheech was like, do you want to play drums for like the show? And I was like, because like I thought about what the songs were like in my head, and I'm like, I was only ever in a ska band once, and it was only one tour, and it was your ska band, Cheech, and I was fucking awful. I did it for the Best of the Worst, and I was horrible. I was fucking atrocious.
Is this commentary on your drumming skills or your ska drumming skills?
Oh, I played bass in that.
Oh, wow.
I played bass for a tour with Best of the Worst, and that was that was the worst. That was the worst.
It was not the Best of the Worst.
No, I mean, they're like, found it, got it, wrap it up. That's it, guys. We're good. Thank you. I'll see you guys at the after party.
So what drumming experience do you have then that made Cheech think, oh, Josh can do this?
Because I can play drums. I don't know. Like, I never played in a ska band. I still don't get, like, ska. Like, I'm not a fucking ska drummer. I'm not a ska.
Right.
Well, I'm probably not a ska anything. I don't know why the fuck you guys are talking to me. I am Josh Jurk, friend of ska. I am ska adjacent,
You played bass in a ska band, and you played drums in a ska band, so.
Fuck, you got me there.
And you're in the ska themed segment of a horror movie, so.
You got me on the technicality.
Yeah. pretty darn ska.
Fuck! All right. Is this how you guys found out too? You just get blindsided by it? You just wake up one day and you're like, fuck, I'm a ska guy.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay. No, he just asked me, and because I've played drums in other bands that nobody gave a shit about, and I demoed like School Drug stuff on drums, and kind of started a project with Cheech at one point where I was playing drums. So I think he just kind of knew that I could play drums. I don't know if he had any idea of my actual ability.
Did that project have a name?
No, it was like, it never really went anywhere. Like, it didn't
You
even
still have a name though. You got to put something on the files that you're recording. New song number 1.
Yeah, like dick fuck part number 1, dick fuck butt shit, and then I can't find the file, and I'm like, oh, was it dick fuck butt or fuck dick butt? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why he asked me. So he asked me, and I thought about it for a couple of days. I told my girlfriend, and she was like, so you're gonna do it though, right? And I was like, I don't know. I can't play that shit. Like, because I distinctly remember listening to Awful Waffle when they put out their EP, and thinking like, oh my God, the drumming is so good. Like, I could never play drums like this. This is an actual, I never told anyone else, probably ever, that I thought that specifically about that band specifically. But I was just like, Jesus Christ, I don't get how like anybody plays drums like that. And like, fuck. So I told them, and I'm still telling them, like, hey, I'm not the drummer that you really want. I'm the one that you got. And if you find the one that you need, you let me know.
So this is kind of like a rom-com here, isn't it?
I'm still waiting for them to tell me. I'm still waiting for them to be like, oh, no, we got the guy. Cool. No problem.
So like love the one you got, not the one you
can't
love the one
you love.
Yeah. This is kind of that,
Funny,
but drummer. TikTok celebrity, Grabmaster Hash. I know he was dancing on stage, hyping that set.
He lived his best life that night. He lived his dream of being a ska hype man. And he was joined on stage by a true ska hype man.
Oh yeah, who?
Homeboy from Kill Lincoln.
Drew.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Who was there and was like, jumped up on stage. There was like, I was like playing and I'm like watching, like, dude jumped on stage and like Jeroni kind of turned around and realized that he was there, and it like I saw the validation wash over Jeroni. And I'm like also watching security, like, oh, please don't kick him off. Like, this is his thing. Both of them, like, this is great for you. Like, I'm so happy for both of you.
You got to be careful though. You cannot do two ska hype men at once. That's really,
who says?
Well, I mean, the other guy was like auxiliary. He was like auxiliary hype.
Yeah. And then what if then Ben Carr shows up and hops on stage?
Oh,
that would have, like, I think the apocalypse would have came down on that.
But that's only 3 of the 4 horsemen. We need one more.
Oh, then the madness's hype man comes up next.
Oh no, there you go.
Then it's done.
And Bobo from Avail. Can't leave that guy out.
Yeah.
Then we'll get the guy from Happy Mondays too. He shows up.
I mean, if we're jumping genres, we got to get him.
So, but that was the first time. So he wasn't part of the band before that. It was just something that he had been wanting to do. He'd been wanting to be the hype man.
I don't even know that he was like, all right, guys. I know he probably did say like, oh, I'm going to be the hype man. That's my thing. Like, we delineated, responsibilities out in the group chat, and it was like, all right, like, Josh is essentially the manager / I guess drummer. Jeroni's is going to be the PR person / hype man.
Okay.
And then he did that. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, it was definitely mentioned explicitly that like that was going to be a thing that he did.
Okay. So the show, Awful Waffle, Hub City Stompers, Catbite, any other bands on that show? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sammy K opened with Catbite as his backing band.
Okay.
Who had been a friend of Shannon and Leslie's for, the same amount of time as any of those other guys.
What was the energy like? Was it an emotional an evening, or was it cathartic? What was it like for everybody?
It was like a family reunion kind of vibe. Like, I didn't see anybody crying or anything. Like, I saw more people that like hugging each other and embracing that haven't seen each other in 15 plus years. Like, it was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And especially like Shannon was seeing people that, she hadn't seen in forever. Everybody was. And it was a really cool thing to bring everybody back. And I think it's exactly what Leslie would have wanted.
Celebration of life kind of thing, right?
Yeah, just bring everybody back, especially because of the thing that we would all know each other from, which would just be, live music in general.
There was was there an auction element too, like to help increase the fundraising part of it?
Yeah, Cheech and some other people in the band organized like a silent auction kind of thing, and raffled, and like a bunch of the bands donated stuff, and Bad Time Records donated things, and Catbite donated records, and
yes, and I donated a book.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How much did your book go for, Aaron?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't at the auction.
I know.
It might have been a raffle and not a silent auction. I don't know. That was like I have like all of this stuff that I'm dealing with. Like, I love this idea. Involve me in it as little as you can.
Yeah.
I'll show you where the tables are to set it up, and then that's where it ends.
Now, was the fundraiser, was there something about, and I could be mixing this up, like getting a bench for her?
Yes, that was, so, I'd asked Shannon, like, what do you want us to do? Like, we're just going to give it, like, we're just going to give you do whatever you want with this. And she had mentioned that they wanted to get her a bench on, I believe, the Asbury Boardwalk.
Okay. Was that Asbury Boardwalk a special place for Leslie?
I believe so. Definitely more of a Shannon question, but like, I have a lot of memories of seeing her in Asbury specifically, at either the Lanes or Stone Pony or Stone Pony Summer Stage or House of Independence or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from like the Log Cabin, or like maybe Starland, that's probably where I would remember seeing her most, and probably the last place that I saw her.
I see. So, you have a band called School Drugs?
I do.
And so when did School Drugs start?
2016.
Okay. Great hardcore band. I'm curious, we've talked about this with different people before. Do you have any thoughts about how you approach screaming or how you prepare to scream? There's an art to screaming. Like, I'm curious your thoughts about that.
There's like different levels of screaming, different like voices that can only be achieved, I believe, at certain times of like breaking my own voice in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when we go to record something, I have to do all the higher screaming parts first, because then once I've destroyed my voice, that is when I can slip it into the lower screaming register. And it just doesn't sound right if I try to go into it, kind of just au naturel. And that's not an uncommon thing. I read an interview, or maybe I listened to it on a podcast. It doesn't matter. The point is that I heard that Bill Stevenson would have Milo, like, he would never use Milo's first take of anything that he recorded, because he would always have him, do the song and like scream the things, like, not that Descendants are a screaming band, but there are parts where he's definitely hitting the top of his register in some respect, and he would always like have him break his voice in a little bit before like actually doing the take, and that's wholly true. There's also like days for me where like our drummer Chris records all of our stuff, and he's been recording stuff for a very, very long time. He recorded like all the erg stuff. He recorded all the measure stuff. He did the Come and Correct demo.
Legendary.
He did he's done so much stuff that it is legitimately like difficult. It's like, name a color. There's so many of them. I don't know. Banana. That's not a color. Fuck. Yellow. Like, there's so much stuff that it's hard to name like one thing that he's done. But there are days where like we'll like mix and do other stuff, and then I'll be like, all right, we'll do vocals tomorrow, pending that my voice sounds good. There's just some days that it just doesn't sound good. Like, the scream just isn't there. I don't know what I did differently the night or the day before, but it just doesn't sound right.
Mhm.
It doesn't sound good. It doesn't break up correctly. Because that's like, it's like screaming is like, God, this is going to sound so stupid. I just said this to myself in my head, and now I'm going to say it out loud, and it's going to be even worse.
Let's hear it.
Screaming it's like a high thought, man. It's like a total high thought. It's like screaming is like distortion for your vocals,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which I don't disagree with, but I hate that I said that.
I'm glad you don't disagree with yourself.
I don't. It's a side effect of always being right. But yeah, no, and then just some days, like your voice, it doesn't break up correctly, whether it's, too much phlegm or you have allergies or whatever the fuck it is, like, it just doesn't break up correctly. But to answer your actual question, sometimes I'll have a nice herbal tea, lemon and honey.
Now, is that more for recovery or is that more for getting ready?
I mean, I will legitimately do that for both.
Yeah.
Both before and after to, if I remember to try to like recover it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, I don't ever like just go, which I think just going into it is a fucking stupid idea for a lot of reasons. One, I think you're way more likely to blow your voice out instantly, not warming up and just going like right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, never exercising and trying to sprint one day is a terrible idea, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I try to just get some like vocal warm-ups, which usually consist of going as high as I can sing a note all the way down, like sliding that all the way down to like the lowest that I can get, and then making a lot of really horrendous retching kind of like type sounds and things of that nature. I don't want to blow your listeners' ears out by making the actual sounds that I make, but I generally do that wherever I happen to be standing. I'm not really like a hide away and do it person, because it also takes away some of that, like, if you're ever at all nervous about like doing the actual thing that you're going to do in front of people, if you do the thing that you look really silly doing in front of a bunch of people, then doing the other thing is going to be easy.
What about for like a live show situation? Do you warm up?
Oh yeah, all that pertain to live setting.
Okay. But do you just warm up in front of everybody?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. There's not usually a place in a basement to go, like check into the green room and take a couple minutes for yourself and turn the humidifier on.
Yeah.
Like, hi, is there a place to plug my humidifier in next to the basement toilet? No? Oh, that's going to be a problem. Yeah. Sorry.
Right now seems like a time where hardcore is having, I'm not sure exactly what I call it, but some kind of moment where there's a lot of great new like indie bands, but there's also some of these bands that are good and they're also catching a little bit more mainstream-ish attention. Like Turnstile is a good example. They were on The Tonight Show, I think.
Yeah. I think anything that is getting like really big mainstream attention, I feel like is a, rising tide raises all ships kind of thing because of Turnstile.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a bad thing at all.
No, it helps that Turnstile is a good band too.
Oh, 100%. Turnstile fucking rules. I love that. It's great.
When the band that's getting the mainstream attention is good, I think that's a big plus, because then if they're not good, then people are like, psh, forget it. And they're not going to give the little bands a chance.
I think it's also good how much some people hate it.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's like, I think that's legitimately a good thing. Like, I read in a book by Paula Scher, who's a graphic designer, where she was saying that, when new design trends come along, like, specifically in her case in the world of graphic design, when new design trends come along and people vehemently are against it, like this is destructive to the moral fabric of graphic design. This is ruining a perfectly good rendition of Don Giovanni. That's for anybody that's seen Dirty Work. Like, you should pay attention to whatever it is that they're getting so upset about, because it's probably good.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason that it's disruptive and people are so polarized by it. And Turnstile is the perfect example of that exact thing, where like, the sort of ideas that like old heads like fucking hate it, can't stand it. This
Yeah.
they don't get it, they don't want to get it. And that's not to say that like anybody over the age of 40 is hates Turnstile. That's clearly not true. But that's probably more so the demographic of people that are like making fucking Facebook posts about how bad it is.
Yeah, I think hip hop has got that same thing too, where it's like there's been like movements of hip hop in the last decade that has just riled the feathers of like the old heads.
Oh yeah, you remember how much everybody hated like SoundCloud rap?
Yeah, SoundCloud or quote unquote mumble rap. But it's like some of that's really good if you just like get over yourself for a second.
And the funny thing about that too is I'm like, okay, you don't like the rapper. What about the producer? Like, what about the person that, made all the beats and all the other stuff that isn't the guy that is saying, the words to the song? The guy that's like actually orchestrating how those notes are going to sound once he puts it through auto-tune. Like, what about that? There's more to this than just the one thing, which I guess in that world, which I'm not super familiar with, is very heavily based on the MC. So it's like, well, it's all about the MC. I don't like the MC, but to me, I'm like, I care more about Dr. Dre as a producer than I do as a rapper.
And and that actually brings it back to the roots, actually, in a more like a real roots way, where it used to be the DJ was like the leader back in the like Brooklyn 70s hip hop days, when it was like the DJ, the DJ was the star, and then the rapper was kind of like secondary. Right.
Yeah. And then so now it's like your DJ of yesterday is sort of the producer of today.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just like they were making what the producer is making live, essentially.
Is there any thought in your head about why maybe there's like kind of energy and interesting stuff happening right now in hardcore?
Kids like fast music. Kids just like fast. They just want music to be fast and loud. That has always been true. It will forever be true. It will never not be true.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when there is something that is so easily accessible in both its sound and its presentation, especially to a modern audience, it is quite obvious that kids are going to be and get into this thing. It's presented in such a way that is so easily accessible. Again, like sonically, it is. There's something in Turnstile specifically, and a lot of the bands that are coming up sort of around them, that is. There's something for kind of everybody in it, I guess.
Well, are there bands that you are particularly fond of happening, like kind of within the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, again, this is a name a color go situation, because I'm just like now, like you said that, and I can only think of ska core bands that I
okay
at the moment.
What are you into in ska core?
Hold on, I got to at least name like one fucking hardcore band for like the two people that are hardcore fans that are going to that are also friends with me, that are going to listen to this and be like,
yeah, you better name their bands.
Wet Specimens, who's band that we're friends with. But and we did like a weekend with them semi recently. Are great. They're kind of in that like D-beat sort of raw punk sort of sound, as it were. But ska on the other hand.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of I want to ask you, what do you think of the Armed?
That's a band?
That's a hardcore band.
I am not familiar.
Their album,
Hyperpop.
Hyperpop. No. What is it called? Pop? Is it just called Pop?
I'll look.
It's the production's very unusual.
Ultra pop. I was close.
Ultra pop. It has it sounds like it's layers of sounds, kind of almost to the point of like it's sounding overly compressed. Is that how? Would you agree with that, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I like the band, but I feel like it's really hard to listen to.
Now, I've seen footage of them play, and I thought it was amazing. But something about the production is both fascinating and very creative. But I just can't quite vibe with the way they chose to record their record.
I like anybody. I mean, I like. I'm not gonna say that I like anybody or anything that is like different, but I appreciate anybody that's willing to do something different within the confines of hardcore or hardcore punk.
Well, they're definitely unique. They also they did a whole thing too where they got like really jacked and got super into weightlifting, and that was like part of their process of like either recording or building up to its release, and that was part of the.
Is that like a bit though? Is it like a bit? Is it like a joke?
No, it was like, I think it was like to focus them basically. Like, hey, let's all get super jacked.
Yeah, it was a real thing they got into, and I think it was thematically relevant to the record, and they used it as part of their release gimmick. But it was like a gimmick, but also like real. Like, this is what we were doing.
I'm liking this lesson. If there was a joke, if it was like, for some reason that reminds me of when I was on that Best of the Worst tour. Some fucking genius in Detroit decided to book like a full-on beat-down hardcore show before the ska show, before the Best of the Worst Stuck Lucky tour fucking rolled in that bitch.
Always a good move.
They had like a full-on, like I think the one band was Left Behind, who it's like what the kids would now deem deathcore, but back in the day we just called it metalcore, that kind of shit. And I remember we rolled up and we had, I also I had to paint the picture of what touring it with the Best of the Worst was. It was a small trailer, and then I believe it was Jay's SUV. It wasn't even a fucking van. It was an SUV. So there was 2 seats, a fucking bench seat, and then another kind of bench seat, but like in an SUV. So there was fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was 7 of us. So there were 3 people in the fucking middle bench seat, and then 2 people in the back, and then, driver passenger always. And it was maybe one of the first times I ever went out into the world that wasn't, just on the East Coast kind of tour. So to me, I'm like, oh, this is just what this is like. Okay, great. Looking back now, I'm like, oh, I would fucking murder everybody. Absolutely no way I would be able to have anybody breathe directly into my fucking open mouth like that. No, couldn't do it. I could not do it now. But we rolled up to the show, and there were legitimately one of the bands that was playing the first show were fucking had their van all opened up, and they're standing in the parking lot lifting weights, and not just a couple girls, they had full fucking barbells, and they're lifting weights in the parking lot, and And like, you know, we started like clowning on them in the car. Like one of us was like, "Look at these fucking nerds! Holy shit! Look at these fucking assholes!" And then one of us was like, "Guys, the windows are open." We were just like, "Oh shit!" And we didn't realize we were just like all fucking clowning on these dudes, and the windows were wide open.
You're like, we're jocks.
And then,
yeah,
it was total. It was the epitome of football team marching band. It's never been displayed more prominently than right then and there. So then, you know, we're standing around. We have nothing else to do because we're in downtown, slightly suburban Detroit, other than eat the worst pizza I've ever had in my entire fucking life. We had nothing else to do. So we're like watching the hardcore show beforehand. And I remember one of the bands was playing, and the in between songs, the singer was like, "Yo, I heard there's a fucking ska show after this shit tonight. We gotta get out of here, but that's too bad because I love ska."
Oh, that's very nice.
That's so nice of him. Wow. And it was, you know, like this song's called, you know, "Slaughtering the Innocent," dun, 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 which honestly, if those kids had stayed, they probably would have been at least slightly into the best of the worst, because it's like,
oh, for sure.
You know, it's like the same thing. It's just, you know, their fast part goes, and your fast part goes, it's, you know, it's just, it's on the up and you're on the down. That's all it is.
This next song is called "I Love Ska." It's my very favorite genre. So my personal favorite new-ish hardcore band is Soul Glow.
Soul Glow's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, what are you into?
School drugs.
School drugs. Yeah. Let's talk about, you got this 4-part album, Funeral Arrangement, that's partially released.
Partially. Oh, I wanted to give a shout out to Body Farm, Slut Bomb, and Grishka, and whatever. Everyone else can go fuck themselves.
Shout out to Grishka.
Just like 3 current hardcore or, you know, grindcore type bands.
Yeah, tell us the concept of Funeral Arrangement.
We started thinking about, you know, putting out like the next thing that we were going to put out kind of right before the pandemic hit. So like very, you know, January of 2020. It's, you know, that's bullshit. No, we didn't. It was way after that. It had to be way after that because we canceled the fucking Modern Medicine tour because of Corona. So we wouldn't really be I wouldn't be burdening myself with fucking more shit to do while being on the tour for the fucking record that I just put out. That's going to come later. That's going to come at least a couple months later. Anyway.
Time is weird. From March 2020 to present, time is still very weird.
Oh, I'm looking at a flyer for a show that we played on February 16th of 2020. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, that's fucking mean. Because then our tour was March. It was the next month, and it was, you know, it was only like 10 days, but it was like the first, you know, we were actually like going to go out and do some shit.
And then everything shut down.
Yeah, then everything shut down. We don't need to talk about it anymore. We all know what happened. We all thought that it was going to be...
We all went through it together.
Yeah, we all thought it was going to be over. We were like, nope, it's going to be a couple days. Nope, it's a couple years. Actually, it's more like 3-ish going on sort of years, kind of acting like everything is okay, but it's not. It's totally not. But maybe it is, but it's not. Anyway, at some point, while we were all sitting around inside, we were like, oh, let's put some new music out. And then I was like, I'm not going to put out a fucking LP that I can't fucking tour on again. That would suck shit. Why would I do that? I just did that. It fucking sucked. I don't want to do that again. Let's not do that again. So we didn't do that again. So we decided like to take the LP and split it up into 4 parts so that we could record it over a longer period of time and take more time to actually think about what the fuck we were putting to tape, which at one point was true. We did used to record to tape, but it's really fucking annoying to do. But yeah, we decided to split it up sort of like, oh, by the time the pandemic is over, we'll have a full LP and we can tour on it. 2 fucking efforts at touring later. We still have not. Yeah, basically the idea was we were going to put out a 4-part record to spend more time not making something that sucks and spread it out so that we can have a fucking record to tour on when we are able to actually tour.
And so is it kind of stalled out, or are you guys going to continue with it?
Oh, no. So we were also thinking like, oh, let's put out, let's put it out as 4 7-inches, and we'll be able to do some like cool things with each one, and I can take more time to like obsess over the artwork and what fucking stock the fucking cover is printed on, and call printing places in different states and ask them very, very specific questions about what their matte finish feels like, and if they can find me another 7-inch that I could possibly buy on Discogs that they definitely did, so I can feel what the paper quality is like, because I need a specific thing. It's got to be just so. I take all the time to do that. I can take the time to lose my train of thought because I'm rambling on. What we didn't anticipate was that everyone else in the fucking world had the same idea at the same fucking time. Same fucking time. We're all like, oh, let's all put out records. We're all going to put out records starting now. Not now, but now. Not now. Right this second, now. Okay, go. And then plants got jammed up. So our record, like, they're all done. They're all fucking finished, but we have to wait for fucking ever to get them back from the goddamn plant because everything is all jacked up. Still.
Thanks, Adele.
It's all Adele's fault.
It's actually not entirely. That's
no, but I'm down to blame her.
That's fine. We could blame Adele and Taylor Swift all we want, but like one of the real reasons was that other countries didn't have the same shutdown protocols that we did. So other countries were like, namely the Czech Republic, that's where Pirates Press presses all of their records.
Yeah,
they were shut down way longer than we were.
Mm-hmm.
So when stuff was getting sent to all different plants, it was just piling up in inboxes basically. And the Adele thing like didn't help, but that wasn't like the worst reason why,
sure.
As I was told by somebody that works for Pirates Press.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's all cool, Adele.
I guess I'm not like going to bat for Adele. I'm just,
it's okay. We'll have her on the podcast eventually, and
yeah,
we'll find out about her unreleased ska album.
22 ska do.
It's probably for her. It's probably so her first record was 21, so it's probably like 17. That's the unreleased ska record.
Oh, it would, yeah, because it have to be beforehand, which might track, because if it was like 15, 16, 17, it's like, oh yeah, it's like you always hear about actors and they had a ska band like back in the day.
Yeah, you've been kind of vocal about this. So I want to ask, you started going to therapy last year, right?
I did.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what led you to that and why you made that decision?
Yeah, I realized one day that you need to get up off the couch every once in a while. You have to actually live your life. You can't just, stare at the same fucking 3 things that you've watched on YouTube. Like I can only watch this fucking 3-hour review of Breath of the Wild so many times. No, I was like, every day I was getting up and going from bed to the couch, then couch to bed, then bed to the couch, then couch to bed, and just like felt like complete fucking garbage all the time. I was always fucked up and sad and miserable and felt like the world hated me and everyone's laughing at me and I'm a fucking pile of shit and everything I make is fucking garbage and this and that and this and that. And at some point I had a moment of clarity and was like, that's not how that's not okay. You don't need to live like that. You can do something about this. And I should have done it a long time ago. I let it go way fucking longer than I ever should have. I let it go well past like for me, the depression, like it's up and down, it ebbs and flows, and it's when it's low, it's really, really low. It's like, kind of catatonic, not barely, just barely existing, like only eating food and drinking water to sustain my own miserable existence, maybe another 24 hours, and then repeating that process over and over and over again. So, and then and then maybe it'll come up eventually, but like in those moments when it was that low, I should have been seeing somebody. For years and years and years, this has been going on since I was probably since I was out of high school, probably really started 18, 19. Maybe when I realized that the crushing weight of the world is a real and tangible thing. Yeah, I decided one day I should do something about this. So I did. I called and made an appointment to go see a therapist, and it was wildly simple. It was very, very easy. It was not a scary thing to do, to call someone and I don't think I called them. I think I'd made the appointment online, and then my therapist texted me, and I text with my therapist when we have, can we, switch this to earlier or later or whatever the case may be. Hey, copay went through, whatever. But I didn't go for the longest time, probably more out of laziness than anything else, because I thought it was going to be a difficult thing to start. I thought the barrier of entry was so much higher. I was sure that it was going to be difficult to find someone first and foremost, and someone that's going to accept my insurance, and someone that's going to vibe with me specifically, because I'm such a unique little whatever. I really thought it was going to be this daunting thing, and then I just went on my insurance's website, and it was like, here's a list of people. Oh, by the way, there's one, a few minutes away from your fucking house. You can walk there. And I was like, that's a crazy concept.
I'm curious, did you make the step when you were at your lowest and you're like, I can't take it anymore? Or was it when you kind of pulled out of it a little bit and you had a little bit of clarity, oh, the way I was just feeling yesterday, I don't want to feel that way anymore. So now that I'm feeling a little better, I can put the energy towards doing it.
It was at the lowest, and it was probably mostly due to my girlfriend, who I met because of ska shows, may I add. It's probably from her telling me yo, you should go talk to somebody. You got to do something about this. Just go on the website, dude. Go look it up. And she'd always been concerned for me. She clearly knew that I was not okay. When, for a week straight, you come home and the only word I say is, huh? Something's not okay. I'm not doing particularly well. Or telling me that thing where she's asking me if I ate food today. And I think so. And then I realized oh, it's 7:00. I had a bowl of cereal at, 9. Oh, I should eat food. Right. But her concern for me and wanting to see me do better was probably the catalyst for it.
Yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I started having intense panic attacks, almost constantly. And so yeah, it got to the point where I didn't know what a panic attack was. I didn't have any language for it. I was just this very weird thing that I hate is happening to me nonstop.
It's a scary thing, especially when you don't know what it is.
Yeah. So then I I got so desperate to that I went and saw a therapist for a while. And that was like day one. It was like, you're having a panic attack. These are normal. It's like, even that was like, it brought it down like a full notch. It wasn't gone, but it was like, oh, okay. I'm not just like a freak of nature, losing their mind. I'm like a human being going through something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just having somebody validate that, I think, can do a world of good for somebody. Knowing that you're not one. You're not always going to feel like this necessarily. Two, it's not unusual. It's not strange. It's not bad. You're not bad for any of this happening. You're not lesser of anything or worse or whatever. Like it's all fine, and it's, in fact, it might even be fairly common. And having somebody tell you that, or even commiserating with someone else, or finding out that someone else is like that through whatever means you may discover that about them, a song or whatever, I think helps a lot. Just knowing that you're not alone.
So as an artist, as a musician, going through this process, has it impacted the way you write, the way you express yourself in music?
Sometimes I have this like fear that being too honest might be maybe like difficult for someone else to hear, and for that I'm sorry if that is how someone else feels, but like for me personally, it is one of the ways, like writing down exactly how I am feeling and what I want to get out is one of my safest and best ways to cope with whatever I'm going through, particularly with depression. And generally the writing of the depression lyrics comes when I'm not at the lowest. Because that idea, that fucking whole thing, like tortured artist, I can only do this when I'm like real low. Like, yeah, I can't do fucking anything when I'm down there. It's great for you, dude. I'm fucking stoked that you can sit in a fucking coffee shop, wear a beret, and write your heart out and be sad the whole time. That's fucking awesome, dude. Good for you. I choose to watch Simpsons and lay on the couch and sink into the fucking couch. Like, I choose to have to call up Wayfair and get new cushions because I fucking ran the old ones through the bottom of the couch. That's what I choose to do with my depression time.
Yeah, there's like romantic depression.
And does that happen? Sure, I guess. I'm not that fucking guy, though.
Yeah. Then there's just like very unglamorous, very unpleasant depression.
Which I have to think is more so the case because we don't have a bunch of fucking Oscar Wildes just running around.
Thank you so much for listening to In Defense of Ska. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you normally stream or download episodes. If you haven't already, grab a copy of my book, In Defense of Ska, available at clashbooks.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's at In Defense of Ska. And please consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/In Defense of Ska. You will get monthly bonus episodes, extended interviews and commentary per episode, and access to the In Defense of Ska Discord. In Defense of Ska would not be possible without the great team that tirelessly works on it every week. So you should go check out their other projects as well. Co-host Adam Davis has an amazing band called Omnigon. Give them a follow on Instagram and Twitter. It's simply at Omnigon. And our editor, Chris Reeves, has a phenomenal record label and podcast called Ska Punk International. For more information, go to skapunkinternational.com. And if you've ever enjoyed one of the highly specific In Defense of Ska memes floating around the interwebs, it was likely the work of The Bands I Like Only Charge $18. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And on that note, we leave you by saying, Ska now more than ever.
Are you in a band with a new album coming out? Are you an artist wanting more people to check out your work? Is there an event you want to promote? Do you own or run a company that sells a cool product or service? In Defense of Ska gets over 10,000 unique downloads each month. If you're interested in advertising on the podcast, we offer very reasonable rates and can help with the production of the ad. The ads are dynamic, meaning they will be placed on every episode for a given period of time. If you're interested, direct message us or email us at indefenseofska